Hello everyone. Welcome to Let's Know the Botany series, where you will find everything about plant sciences. Please like, share, and subscribe the channel. Myself, Dr. Sujit Zadav, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, SBR College Maswad, Taluka Man, District Satara. The objectives of this particular lecture series, they are something like this. The first objective is to make a complex process converted to simple and understandable language to the common students. Designing the entire series with graphical solutions, the information availability to the graduate and undergraduate students of the botany. Today we are going to discuss about two important blotting techniques, that is northern blotting and western blotting. But before discussing these two techniques, one should understand what these blotting techniques are. The different blotting techniques, they have been used to identify unique proteins and nucleic acid sequences. Blotting is generally done by gel electrophoresis, where a mixture of DNA, RNA, or protein that has been flow through a slab of gel. This gel allows small molecules to move faster than bigger ones. The separated molecules are then pressed against a membrane, which helps to move the molecules from the gel onto the membrane. The molecules stick to the membrane but stay in the same location apart from each other, as if they were still in the gel. Blotting techniques are selected based on the target molecule. The target may be either a DNA, RNA, or protein mixture. As far as history of blotting is concerned, southern blotting is named after its inventor, the British biologist Professor Edwin Southern, in 1975, as a method to detect specific sequences of DNA in DNA samples. This is the picture of Professor Edwin Southern, who invented this particular method. The other different blotting techniques, they have been put forth later on. They have been emerged from this particular method. They have been termed as northern blot, which separates the RNA strands, western blotting for protein separation, eastern blotting for post-translational protein modifications, and southwestern blotting technique, which is useful for DNA-protein interactions. There are three main different types of blotting techniques. The first one is the southern blotting, used to detect amount of DNA in a mixture, which we have already discussed in our last lecture. Northern blotting, which is used to detect RNA from a mixture. And western blotting for separating proteins by their size. So we will start with the discussion of northern blotting. Northern blotting, it is nothing but the technique which was developed in 1977 by James Alvine, David Kemp, and George Stark at Stanford University. These are three different scientists who invented this particular northern blotting technique. Northern blotting involves the use of electrophoresis to separate RNA samples by size and detection with a hybridization probe complementary to part of or the entire target sequence. The term northern blot actually refers specifically to the capillary transfer of RNA from the electrophoresis gel to the blotting membrane. However, the entire process is commonly referred to as northern blotting because of the previous method named southern blot for DNA separation. As far as principles of northern blot they have been concerned, they have been useful to separate RNA samples by size with the help of gel electrophoresis. Northern blotting technique is used. The separation of RNA molecules in gel electrophoresis is based on the charge of the nucleic acids. The charge in the nucleic acids is proportional to the size of the nucleic acid sequences. When the target sequence is an mRNA, the sample can be isolated through oligocellulose chromatographic techniques, as mRNA are characterized by the poly A tail. The separated sequence are transferred to the nylon membranes as gel molecules are fragile in the nature. The selection of nylon membrane is contributed to the factor that nucleic acids are negatively charged in nature. As the RNA molecules are transferred, it is immobilized by covalent linkage. A complementary probe can be added, which is an double-stranded DNA sequence. Formaldehyde is generally used as a blotting buffer as it reduces the annealing temperature. So these are all are the principles of Nathan blotting. Now we will going to discuss about steps involved in Nathan blotting. This is first of all we will discuss about the flowchart of Nathan blotting, where the first step is sample preparation and running that particular sample on the gel. Then southern transfer, then probe preparation, then pre-hybridization, which follows hybridization, post-hybridization washing, and at the end signal detection is there. So this is the diagrammatic representation how Nathan blotting has been proceeded. The first step, that is the sample collected in, is first homogenized. The samples may be representative of different types of culture for comparison, or it can be for the study of different stages of growth inside the culture. Second step involves the RNA sequence is now separated in the electrophoresis unit, and agar gel is used for the purpose of the nucleic acid separation. At the third stage, the separated RNA sequence is transferred to the nylon membrane. This is done by two mechanisms. The first one is capillary action and the another one is ionic interaction. Fourth step involves where we can go for first the agar gel is placed on the bottom of the stack, followed by the blotting membrane. On top of these paper towels, a mild wet, that is glass plate, is placed. The entire setup is kept in a beaker containing transfer buffer. RNA transferred to the nylon membrane is then fixed using ultraviolet radiations. The fixed nylon membrane is then mixed with probes. The probes are specifically designed for the gene of interest, so that they will hybridize with RNA sequences on the blot corresponding to the sequence of interest. The next step is the blot membrane is washed to remove unwanted probes. Labeled probe is detected by autoradiography. The result will be dark bands in X-ray film. So these all are the steps involved in the Nathan blotting. Now we will discuss about the applications of this particular blotting technique. The first application in analysis of regulated genes, which indicates which tissue expresses the gene, as well as it indicates the factors controlling the gene expression. The second application is checking if the cloned cDNA is of full length. So comparing the size of mRNA with the size of cloned cDNA can be possible with this particular technique. It is used to show overexpression of oncogenes and downregulation of tumor suppressor genes in cancerous cells. The another application is in detecting a specific mRNA in sample used for screening recombinants which are successfully transformed with transgene. And another application of this particular technique, that is in mRNA splicing studies. So this is all about Nathan blotting. Thus we can detect the RNA sequence in the sample by using the Nathan blotting technique. Then another technique we are going to discuss it over here, that is Western blotting. The Western blot is an analytical technique used in molecular biology to detect specific proteins in a given sample of tissue, homogenate or extract. Basically, it works on the principle of gel electrophoresis. Proteins are separated on the basis of their size on polyacrylamide gel. As far as history of this Western blotting technique is concerned, the Western blotting method was first described in 1979 by W. Neil Burnett, who was born in 1944 in New York City. Since it becomes one of the most commonly used method in life science research, it is also known as immunoblotting. It is a well established and widely used technique for the detection and analysis of proteins. The method is based on building an antibody protein complex via specific binding of antibodies to proteins immobilized on a membrane and detecting the bound antibody with one of several detection methods. So we will discuss about the flowchart of Western blotting now. The flowchart is something like this, where the first step is sample preparation, which is followed by gel electrophoresing the protein samples, then protein transfer, then protein staining, followed by blocking non-specific antibody, then antibody probing, which is followed by washing, then protein detection, and at the last, digital imaging. One by one, we will discuss about them later. First of all, we will discuss about principles of Western blotting. Western blotting technique is used for identification of particular protein from the mixture of protein. In this method, labeled antibody against particular protein is used to identify the desired protein, so it is a specific test. These are some steps which have been involved in Western blotting. The first step is extraction of protein. Protein is extracted from cell by mechanical or chemical lysis of cell. This step is also known as tissue preparation. To prevent denaturing of protein, protease inhibitor is used. The concentration of protein is determined by spectroscopy. When sufficient amount of protein sample is obtained, it is diluted in loading buffer containing glycerol, which helps to sink the sample in well. Tracking dye, that is bromothymol blue, is also added in sample to monitor the movement of proteins. The second step is of gel electrophoresis. The sample is loaded in well of SDS phase. The proteins are separated on the basis of electric charge, isoelectric point, molecular weight, or combination of all these. The small size protein moves faster than large size protein. Proteins are negatively charged, so they move towards positive, that is anode pole, as electric current is applied to it. The step third involves blotting. The nitrocellulose membrane is placed on the gel. The separated protein from gel transferred to nitrocellulose paper by capillary action. This type of blotting is time consuming and may take 1 to 2 days. For fast and more efficient transfer of desired protein from the gel to nitrocellulose paper, electroblotting can be used. In electroblotting, nitrocellulose membrane is sandwiched between gel and the cassette of filter paper, and then electric current is passed through the gel, causing transfer of protein to the membrane. The next step is blocking. Blocking is a very important step in Western blotting. Antibodies are also protein, so they are likely to bind the nitrocellulose paper. So before adding the primary antibody, the membrane is non-specifically saturated or masked by using casein or bovine serum albumin. The next step is treatment with primary antibody. The primary antibody is specific to desired protein, so it forms AG-AB complex. The next step is treatment with secondary antibody. The secondary antibody is enzyme labeled. For example, alkaline phosphatase or horseradish peroxidase is labeled with secondary antibody. Secondary antibody is antibody against primary antibody. That is, it is also called as anti-antibody. So it can bind with the AgAb complex. The step 7th is of treatment with suitable substrates. To visualize the enzyme action, the reaction mixture is incubated with specific substrate. The enzyme converts the substrate to give visible colored product. So band of color can be visualized in the membrane. Western blotting is also a quantitative test to determine the amount of protein in sample. As far as applications of this Western blotting techniques they have been concerned, the most important application is in disease diagnosis. It detects antibodies against virus or bacteria in the given serum. The most important application, another, that is HIV test. The confirmatory HIV test employs a Western blot to detect anti-HIV antibody in human serum sample. Protein sample from known HIV infected cells are separated and blotted on a membrane. Then the serum to be tested is applied in the primary antibody incubation step. Free antibody is washed away and a second anti-human antibody linked to an enzyme signal is added. The third application is definitive test for the diseases like hepatitis B, Lyme disease and herpes disease. It is also useful to determine the size and amount of protein in a given sample. It is useful to detect defective proteins, for example, prions disease. So concluding, this is how a very important technique useful in detecting protein sequence in a given sample can be detected, which is very useful in different human disease detections. Thank you very much.